Welcome, salutations and revolutionary greetings, Cyber Posse. Benvenidos to the Outlaw News. I am your host, the Cholo journalist, the voice of the barrio, the voice of the Vato Loco, the voice of the voiceless. Hope all is well in Cyber Vato land, and that you cyber outlaws came suited and booted, making sure your Cortezes are laced up tight. If so, then let's take a cruise down Conspiracy Boulevard, jump in the cyber low, lean back, turn up the oldies on the radio, light one up if you got one, and get ready to cruise to the dark side of town. Today, Cyber Outlaws, we drop the social media DP on celebrity snitch influencer Mundo Mendoza, whose alleged backstory is of a reborn Christian with a heart of gold, who's been compelled by Christ to confess to law enforcement crimes others commit, but yet, never feels compelled to confess crimes he Mundo committed, such as murders and drug dealing. Using a shield of bogus religion, and promoted by mainstream media as a ex-Mexican mafioso serial killer turned saint, Mundo Mendoza has managed to build a public image of celebrity snitch influencer. But today, Cyber Posse, the outlaw exposes the public image of celebrity snitch influencer Mundo Mendoza to be a house of cards, whose foundation is based on manipulation and lies, like the devil he Mundo really is. Simply put, social media outlaws, Mundo Mendoza is no more than a Chicano Michael Thompson, a fairy tale telling fraudster. One question, Cyber Outlaws: has Mundo ever backed up his backstory with documentation, such as newspaper articles from his past, court transcripts, or any type of official documentation proving his backstory as true? Or have you, and Mundo's fanboy groupies, been expected to just take Mundo's word as true for over 40 years? Cyber Outlaws, let us get started by putting Mundo Mendoza's feet to the fire, and kick off today's Clutches spill with a newspaper article covering the 1981 trial of Joe Morgan, Helen Pacheco, and Arthur Artie Guzman, for the murder of Robert Marazek. The case which celebrity snitch Mundo used to launch his career as a snitch influencer. The news article is from the Los Angeles Times, dated May of 1981. Before we begin the Los Angeles Times article covering the Robert Marazek murder, allow the outlaw to point out a quick side note about the relationship between celebrity snitch influencer Mundo Mendoza and the alleged manufactured godfather Joe Morgan. Though Mundo represents himself to be a loyal sidekick of Joe Morgan, who supposedly referred to Mundo as Mijo, celebrity snitch influencer Mundo Mendoza never actually served any prison time with Joe Morgan, and never officially met Morgan till 1975, when Mundo Mendoza was paroled from prison. Mendoza only lasted about 6 months on parole though, before he was arrested for the October 1975 murders of the two Reyes brothers in Bakersfield, California. Between October 1975 to March 1977, Mundo Mendoza was incarcerated in the Kern County Jail. After allegedly having a religious conversion, Mundo Mendoza decided to begin cooperating with law enforcement allegedly. In March 1977, Mendoza was released from the Kern County Jail, and began working as an undercover agent provocateur for law enforcement for the next 18 months. So truth be told, Mundo Mendoza really had no long-term solid relationship with Joe Morgan. In reality, only about 6 months that Mendoza and Morgan functioned together was Mendoza allegedly an active Mexican mafia member. The remainder of the time that Mendoza claims to having a close relationship with Morgan, Mendoza was acting as an undercover agent provocateur for law enforcement. So if there was a relationship between Mendoza and Morgan, it was only for a short period of time, about 6 months. Again, I know it's hard to believe because of Mundo's brainwashing and misinformation, but Mundo Mendoza and Joe Morgan never served any time together while both were in prison. Celebrity snitch influencer Mundo Mendoza, law enforcement, and mainstream media lead the public to believe there was some long-term harmonious relationship between Morgan and Mendoza. That is what one would call misinformation or the misinformation effect. Now, Cyber Outlaws, let us get started with the 1981 newspaper article covering the Robert Marazek murder trial, which Mundo Mendoza was the prosecutor's star witness. After, we'll use several other documents to corroborate or discredit the allegations made in the Los Angeles Times article. which will prove if Mundo in fact is a genuine Christian, or just another fraud like Michael Thompson. The article begins with News source, Los Angeles Times, May 5, 1981. Titled, Trial Begins, for 3 charged in slaying reputed Mexican Mafia Godfather, among the accused. By Bill Hazlitt, Times staff writer, and begins as followed. The murder-for-hire trial of reputed Mexican Mafia Godfather Joe Pegleg Morgan and his 2 co-defendants opened Monday in Los Angeles County Superior Court. Morgan is charged with conspiracy to commit murder and murder in the November 17, 1977, slaying of Robert Mrazek, 33, a suspected drug dealer. On trial with Morgan for the same crimes are Helen Mrazek Pacheco, 33, the victim's former wife, and Arthur Artie Guzman, 22, described by authorities as an aspiring Mexican mafia soldier. And Deputy District Attorney Dennis Cho told the jury hearing the evidence before Judge Florence Picard in a high-security courtroom that the conspiracy murder case is as complicated as a jigsaw puzzle. Morgan, 54, reputed founder and leader of the prison-spawn Mexican Mafia, is accused of arranging Mrazek's murder as a favor to Pacheco, a former bail bondswoman, who often provided bail for gang members, Choate said. Prosecutor's contention outlining the case to the jury, the prosecutor said Pacheco, then Mrazek's wife, contacted Morgan and asked him to kill her estranged husband. In exchange for the murder, she allegedly offered Morgan $10,000 in cash, a kilogram of heroin worth an estimated $60,000. Her husband's Mexican drug connections and cancellation of any bail fees owed by Mexican Mafia members. Choate said Morgan turned the murder contract over to Ramon Mundo Mendoza, 35, of Montebello, who, in turn, recruited Guzman. The prosecutor said Morgan also gave Mendoza the victim's picture, a key to his home in Seal Beach, and the address of his business in Signal Hill. On the day of the murder, Choate told the jury, Guzman entered Mrazek's shop at 2502 Payne Drive, Signal Hill, walked to a rear warehouse area where the victim was repairing a slot machine from his hobby shop, and shot him once in the back of the head. The murder weapon, a .45 caliber automatic pistol, was later thrown into Leg Lake in the Whittier Narrows recreation area, in the San Gabriel Valley, Choate said. Robbery was ruled out as a motive when investigators found $5,500 in the victim's pocket, he added. Mendoza agreed to become a prosecution witness after he was arrested in 1978 for 2 murders in Bakersfield, for which he is now serving a prison sentence. The prosecution agreed not to prosecute Mendoza in the Mrazek case and to provide protection for his family in return for his testimony and cooperation. Mendoza, a former paid informant, is expected to be a key prosecution witness against Morgan. Morgan, who has spent almost 28 years behind bars since his 1946 conviction for second-degree murder, was sentenced to federal prison in 1978 after he admitted possessing heroin and buying 2 guns under an assumed name, Choate said. The defendant's police identification record carries the aliases Godfather and Pegleg, the latter because he wears an artificial right leg. Morgan sat quietly at the counsel table with other defendants while his attorney, Roger J. Rosen, presented the opening argument for the defense. Joe Morgan did not join, or conspire, or agree with the other defendants to commit a murder, Rosen told the jurors. He attacked Mendoza as an admitted liar, a drug user and a convicted felon, who was allowed to escape punishment for 2 murders and paid as an informant who never came forward to testify until he was desperate because of the 2 murders in Bakersfield. Rosen said the prosecution's case against his client is built on the word of questionable witnesses like Mendoza, who, he said, was paid thousands of dollars for his testimony and is now serving time in a country club for snitches as a bought and paid for witness. Wow! A liar and drug addict, a bought and paid for informant. Sounds like your boy the Cholo journalist isn't the only one who feels celebrity snitch influencer Mundo is a compulsive liar and conman, who's allowed to get away with multiple murders, as long as he Mundo testifies against others who only committed their crimes because Mundo asked them to commit them for the Mexican Mafia. The outlaw has been dying to drop this spill on Mundo's true informant status. First off, this newspaper article lacks serious researching. They print claiming allegedly Mundo began cooperating with law enforcement in 1978. This is most likely some misinformation given to the Los Angeles Times reporter by prosecutors or law enforcement. In fact, cyber outlaws, the truth is programmed MKUltra serial killer Mundo really started his career as an undercover agent provocateur for law enforcement in March of 1977, 8 months before Mundo recruited his little brother Angel and Arthur Guzman to murder Robert Marazek. Cyber Posse: correct the outlaw if we're wrong, but aren't informants required to report violent acts such as murder to law enforcement, not recruit the gunman, plus supervise the murder personally? According to Ramon Mundo Mendoza's own testimony from 1983, before a subcommittee on juvenile justice. Mundo, under questioning, admits Mundo began working with law enforcement starting on or around March 6, 1977, not December 1978. Also, during Alfie Sosa's murder trial, it clearly stated Mundo started agent provocateuring for law enforcement March 1977. Before the Robert Marazek murder, Mundo knowingly withheld the truth from defense attorneys while on the witness stand regarding his true informant status. Cyber outlaws: CIA mind control test subject Mundo also knowingly intentionally recruited his younger brother Angel, involving him in several crimes, plus murders, only to set him up to be arrested. Who does that type of shit? Only a real scumbag. Remember cyber criminals? Mundo supposedly had a religious awakening while in the Kern County Jail in 1977. Or did he? Because during the trial of Joe Morgan, Helen Pacheco, and Arthur Guzman, it was discovered that apparently $10,000 were given to Mundo to pay Arthur Guzman for his hitman killer services. But instead of paying Guzman, Mundo kept the money, stiffing Guzman out of $10,000. Also, during Mundo's cross-examination by Joe Morgan's defense attorney, Mundo admitted to continually selling drugs as an active informant, profiting over $200,000 in drug proceeds, which corroborated Mundo's testimony from 1983, stating that Mundo was selling drugs, plus also using heroin and other drugs during his period as a snitch provocateur, which MKUltra test dummy. Mundo also claimed his law enforcement handlers were aware of his illegal criminal activities, but looked the other way as long as Mundo continued to manufacture crimes, who would be used to sell the prison gang boogeyman narrative to the unsuspecting public. During the alleged 18 months Mundo spent undercover as a snitch provocateur, he sold large amounts of heroin, pocketed the profits, supervised the murder of Robert Marazek, convinced fellow mafiosos to rob a bank, and ordered the murder of 2 fellow Mexican mafia members, including one individual's sister. According to Mundo's own words, on June 1978 the burned-charred body of Mexican mafia member $1 Million Lou was found in the trunk of Mundo Mendoza's car, which was parked at the LAX airport parking lot. Wait, there's more. Joe Morgan defense attorney apparently repeatedly requested a copy or to review Mundo Mendoza's prison central file. The prosecutors refused, stalled, or ignored the defense request for Mundo's prison jacket. Apparently the judge in the case sided with the prosecutors for whatever fabricated reason, to not allow defense access to Mendoza's central file, and the outlaw believes it knows why Mundo's central file was kept secret. Though law enforcement and prosecutors were able to hide or avoid divulging Mundo's criminal activities as a snitch provocateur, access to Mundo's prison jacket would have revealed that during the period in which Mundo was incarcerated for the murder of White Fence gangster Bobby Loco, between April to September of 1972, Mundo Mendoza was unknowingly a prisoner test dummy, placed inside Vacaville Medical Facility's special unit.
Mendoza, you've been selected to be enrolled in the Lister program. It's a surgery to remove.
The Lister unit, also known as Lobotomy Row, an experimental medical unit that was secretly funded and operated by the CIA, and most medical staff were secretly on the CIA's payroll. The Lister unit inside Vacaville Medical Facility was found to be a covert test site for the top-secret government-funded mind control experiments, known as MKUltra. This special unit conducted lobotomies, electroshock treatment, used psych meds and torture tactics to try to convert violent-prone prisoners into program killers, or spies also known as snitch provocateurs. Now considering the fact that several years later Mundo would do both, kill over allegedly 20+ people, and become an infamous Mexican mafia snitch provocateur, one could say the programming was successful on Mendoza. Imagine the implications, or damage if it was discovered by Joe Morgan's defense that Mundo Mendoza was a victim of the infamous Vacaville medical facilities, MK-Ultra CIA secret experiments, or on any of the many cases Mundo had testified in. Mundo would have been discredited as an informant, washed up, and shelved like Eddie Sailor Boy Gonzalez was. Plus pretty much every case Mundo touched would have been dismissed. The Outlaws leaves you with these two snippets from a 1970s San Quentin documentary. First, an interview with the unknown San Quentin prison guard, and the last one an interview with a CDCR notorious prison snitch by the name of Pincushion Smith, who also has numerous prison murders under his belt like Mundo. Pincushion described his experience at Vacaville undergoing the secret MK-Ultra test experiments.
It's the only proven cure that we've been able to come up with for people who are involved in multiple killings. The other alternatives that we have developed, I wouldn't care to be a party to, such as turning a man into a vegetable through a lobotomy, or planting electrodes in his brain so that when he feels a homicidal urge, he can push a button on his belt and maybe have an orgasm. To me, these kinds of things would be robbing them of their humanity, and I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
Anectine is not the proper name of the drug. It's there's a word for it that has something like 24 or 25 letters, but for short they call it anectine. And what you do is the officers in the green shirts come in and they put you in restraints, handcuffs, and they put shackles on your feet where you can't kick. And the doctor comes in and he sits down with a little folding chair, a little metal folding chair. And he says, well now Mr. Smith, you burnt your mattress last night. Why did you do that? Well, it so happened I burnt my mattress because I had nothing else to do. I had no books of any kind whatsoever. I had no type of, nothing to keep my mind or anything else occupied except staring and looking at the ceiling. So I decided to do something, cause a little excitement, and I burned my mattress. So he says, now we don't want you to do that again, Mr. Smith, so we're going to try and give you a little therapeutic drug that will help you. It's called anectine. And I want you to listen to me very carefully when I administer it. Naturally, I have no choice in the matter. I'm chained and restrained and have 2 or 3 people sitting on my arms and legs. I can't do a damn thing about it. So he pulls out hypodermic, swabs my arm, injects the anectine intravenously instead of intramuscularly. It goes straight to the vein. Immediately upon injection, your body goes into a convulsive, just spasmic, say 4 to 5 seconds, a spasmic attack. And then the body's immobilized. It's a feeling of being suffocated with pillows on your face and at the same time of having an enormous amount of weight on your chest where that you can't breathe. It's a feeling of total paralysis of your hands, your arms, your legs, your toes. You can't move anything. You can move your eyes slightly, but only slightly. I mean, it's very hard just to move them a fraction of an inch either way. It totally immobilizes the body. It's like a catatonic type of state, and but of course it's a limited state. But your thing is this: the doctor understands what he's doing to you. He knows that you're not going to die. You don't know that. You may think, as most of us thought, as I personally thought, that he put too much in there, that he'd kill me accidentally. I thought that perhaps maybe the sadistic son of a bitch had did it on purpose. I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew that I was dying. I had absolutely no doubt in my mind that I was going to die. And he said, now you're not going to do that again, are you, Roger Dale? And naturally you cannot talk back. In order to talk, you must be able to get air, and you can't get air in the sense of the word that you can breathe like we're breathing now. You're living on the oxygen that's in your lungs and the oxygen that flows through your lungs and the pores of your body, but it's just enough to sustain the blood flow to the brain such that you don't lose consciousness, but that you feel the total effect of a death sense. And I've been close to death many times, and you can believe me that that is perhaps the closest feeling to death that I've ever experienced in my life. And he consistently, just consistently drives into your head, you're not going to do it again, are you? Now, you wouldn't want this to happen to you again, would you? As you would talk to a child, a 6-year-old, 8-year-old child. And the effect of the nectine itself wears off in about 3 minutes, where that you get partial movement. Well, during that partial movement, they remove your restraints and they get out of that cell. Because after 5 or 10 more minutes, you're going to be able to have full movement of the body. And believe you me, if they were in the cell at that time, you would gladly kill every single one of them, and you wouldn't think nothing about it. You'd think nothing whatsoever about it. My understanding of a nectine and the gas treatment that they administered was simply for traumatic effect, to create trauma in your head, where that you'll refrain from doing something that they consider against the rules, something that they consider a violation of the rules. But the trauma is so severe that instead of you saying, well, I'm not going to do that again, yes, you say that. I'm not going to burn that mattress again, or I'm not going to break that wall again. But what you do plot, you say, now how can I get a hold of something where I can kill one of these son of a bitches? This is what you start plotting. So you forget the petty minor stuff, get rid of the aggressiveness, the pent-up hostilities by burning and making noise and breaking things. You do it because you are afraid of the nectine, you are afraid of the gas treatment. Anybody says they aren't, they're a goddamn liar. But you start planning on how you can assault severely, preferably one of the people that administered this to you. But in actuality, anybody that's in a position of authority, that has authority directly over you, that you can retaliate against and say, now, son of a bitch, if you do this to me again, I'm going to get another one of you people. This is how your mind works. This is how my mind works. This is how many of the men that I lived with on S3, this is how their minds.
Cyber Outlaws, stay suited and booted for another banger from your boys the Outlaw. Hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, with a cyber clenched fist salute, Venceremos Cyber Outlaws.